Each of us has heard about multi-step, multi-layered skincare routines in cosmetics and how this is an amazing innovation that will make everyone look younger. Probably each of you has also thought that this is likely the coolest marketing ploy, one that will definitely make Korean cosmetic companies, the first to come up with it, rich. And secondly, I don't think many of you have actually done it because it's really hard work, especially if morning and evening products are different, especially if you need separate products for summer and autumn. For the modern busy woman who is a businesswoman, a mother, a wife, and a friend, this is practically mission impossible. So let's break down this myth. Do you really need those 10, 20, or 30 jars? Or can you actually manage with a minimal but effective set that covers all the main needs? Today, we're going to break down 3 main marketing myths that make women buy a lot of this skincare without really knowing how it will work. And then I'll give you a very brief scientific overview of how the skin aging process actually works, what functions are involved in aging, because of this, and this. These types of products address these problems, each one targeting its own issue. Because the problem is, how do women get advertised to? It's anti-age. And what exactly is anti-age? You have no idea. You just put it on, and every jar, every serum is a surprise for you. It might work or it might not. And the craziest thing about this situation is that there are, for example, types of cosmetics that create a quick superficial effect, almost like foundation. So you put on for a day or two and you're all moisturized, glowing. Oh, it definitely works, a rejuvenating effect. But in reality, any noticeable changes you might observe in your skin during the initial 2 weeks of diligently using various cosmetic products are merely superficial, much like applying a temporary foundation. In terms of genuine long-term rejuvenation, truly and effectively fixing all those visible signs of aging, the impact is absolutely and unequivocally zero. And the unfortunate truth is, women often spend a truly huge amount of their hard-earned money on these quick-fix solutions, which ultimately provide very little lasting benefit. Alternatives to foundation, because there are, for example, things like caffeine that tighten the skin and create a lifting effect. You get a wow effect in just a few minutes. But in terms of rejuvenation, you get zero. So your skin keeps aging just as it did before. Collagen production remains just as poor as before. And after a while, this effect will stop helping you because your skin will age faster since you're not actually doing anything about aging. On the other hand, women who spend money on cosmetics that truly have a rejuvenating effect don't see any dramatic changes in the first 2 weeks. They can't see them because any changes in the skin happen in the deeper layers, which are only just beginning to form. On average, this layer of skin comes to the surface in about 6 calendar months. If you're not knowledgeable either, then you're 100% a victim of marketing. So I have some notes here. The first myth: you need a long routine. Meaning lots of jars, lots of products. The more steps, the better. The truth is that your skin doesn't need a circus of products. It needs effective functions. That is, first and foremost, the integrity of the skin barrier. Second, cell renewal. Third, a strong extracellular matrix. The matrix is basically the structure of the skin. That is, it's about collagen, collagen production, elastin production, and water retention so that the skin doesn't get dehydrated and doesn't age. So if these 3 functions are included, for example, in 1 serum or in 2 products, then you've covered the entire issue of aging. Because globally, aging happens due to these 3 functions, and that's it. The other steps can give you some dramatic effects. They can work with the upper layer of the skin, mainly with the outer barrier. Because all those dramatic changes you see just mean that the upper skin barrier was damaged and something quickly restored it, and you're like, wow, it looks great. But in reality, if you want to lift the youth triangles or make your cheekbones more defined or get rid of wrinkles here or lift your brow, and all of this without Botox, injections, threads, and so on, you need to work with the deeper layers of the skin. Okay, the second myth, age means dryness, so you need a thick, greasy cream. That's what I call an old wives' tale. And it's total nonsense because, first of all, it clogs your pores even more. And in addition to a dry, lifeless face, it also gives you poor pore quality, blotchiness, and even a bluish tint. A bluish tint to the skin because the skin can't breathe and it also lacks external vitamins. The truth is, dullness and sagging are most often due to a breakdown of the matrix. That is, again, the matrix is the structure of the skin. Because of slow cell division. So it turns out that the very structure of the skin breaks down, the algorithms for building it break down, and these algorithms start working more slowly. And this can't be fixed by either a rich cream or a nourishing one. It's like the eternal question, should I buy a moisturizing cream or a nourishing one? Neither one nor the other, because all of that will only work on the surface layer of the skin. And if you like yourself, you'll like how this cosmetic works on you. If you don't like yourself and consider yourself aging with poor skin quality, then no matter how much you use this cream, you won't see any real improvement. Moving on. The next myth is very interesting. Pay attention. Anti-aging means adding collagen from the outside. In other words, anti-aging cosmetics should be associated with collagen. Here it's very important to note that collagen is pushed everywhere in marketing. But what you really need is a fairly expensive and high-quality product from a reputable brand that is practically a specialist at a medical level, not just that is at a medical level. This is really for biologists, doctors, and cosmetologists. Because usually the collagen molecules in creams are not small enough to become part of your dermis and penetrate to the deepest layer to participate in its formation. The real method that works more effectively for collagen production is to stimulate your own collagen synthesis and send signals to your cells to renew themselves. So you can buy a cream with collagen and try to force external collagen in. But with a high probability, if the jar isn't very expensive, it's most likely not effective. Or you can use peptides that stimulate your own collagen production. In general, peptide-based cosmetics are the most advanced and, as of today, quite frankly, the most expensive, especially if we compare them to, say, some Korean products. Korean cosmetics with certain active ingredients, for example, will obviously cost less than peptide-based products, definitely more expensive than a snail cream. Why is that? Because peptides act like coaches, making your skin's own functions work more efficiently. This is really great because you're not making your skin's functions weaker. Instead, you're actually training your skin's functions, which obviously in the long run will prolong your youth much more than if you were to make your skin lazier and replace its functions with something external, right? Now let's break down how the skin ages so it's clear. So when you technically understand how something broke and what exactly broke, you can fix it. Cosmetics, cosmetic products, how they work, your skincare routine that you use should stop being a mystery to you. And then it will start to work. In most cases, a woman can't choose a good product for herself simply because for her, it's a mystery how it works and what she's trying to fix. She just looks at herself in the mirror, stops liking what she sees, and doesn't understand why. So what is skin aging? What is at the root of this nonsense? The skin matrix. It's a 3D framework. It consists of collagen. It is responsible for strength. It consists of elastin. It is responsible for elasticity. Hyaluronic acid is about volume and moisture. So even when people say, oh, it's normal for those youthful cheeks in women to disappear, amino acids and additional fibers are responsible for volume. I won't complicate things between them right now. And also fibroblasts are involved. Fibroblasts are builder cells that are located among everything I just listed. So when all of this is in good condition, your facial volume is quite good and there are no age-related changes. And you might even look better than you did at 25, especially if you didn't have the best genetics to begin with, like me, for example. I always show this photo. I never thought it would come in so handy. I actually don't have many photos from that period because I never considered myself a beautiful woman until I figured out skincare. I mean, I wasn't unattractive, but my natural skin quality from the start was nothing special. In other words, it could have been better. Moving on. What happens to this skin matrix after the ages of 25 and 30? First of all, the rate of cell renewal drops significantly. And it doesn't just decrease gradually, it drops exponentially. So you actually notice it. At 35, you still look young and beautiful. At 40, still young and beautiful. And then suddenly at 42, it's as if the person has aged 10 years overnight. For everyone, this period comes at a different time. For some, it might happen at 32, for others at 54. It's unpredictable. But the point is that this decline happens very abruptly. Next, the synthesis of collagen and elastin slows down because cell renewal starts to slow down exponentially, and the synthesis of collagen and elastin, which are responsible for the structure, for the framework, for the feeling of youth, for sagging, for wrinkles, for skin tone, So all of this starts to deteriorate rapidly, and you can't predict exactly when it will happen. The next interesting factor is what happens after the age of 25 to 30, which women often don't pay attention to. Glycation. Glycation is a process triggered by the sugar in the foods and drinks you consume. It binds together the collagen and elastin fibers, making them dry and brittle. And the process of glycation starts to have a real effect on your face, specifically after the age of 30 to 35. That's why, when you were 20 and washed everything down with Coca-Cola, nothing happened to you. But at 35, you eat one extra piece of candy and a lot starts happening to you. Do you understand? Fourth, barrier. The barrier is this upper fatty layer, the lipid layer that sits on the skin, which makes it smooth and velvety, is responsible for retaining moisture. And when it's healthy, creates that Photoshop effect, so you don't need to use powder or foundation and still look beautiful. As the barrier becomes thinner with age, it allows water to evaporate from the skin. Water starts to leave the skin much faster, and if a woman washes her face with the cheapest cleansers, or God forbid with soap, she basically removes, like with a scalpel, she strips away this barrier and her skin becomes automatically dehydrated with age, a process that only accelerates. As a result, you get premature aging, dry skin, fine lines, creases that later turn into deep wrinkles. A simple solution that aligns with the logic of skin minimalism. That is, when you don't want to use a lot of products, but you want them to be effective, and you don't want to be a chemist or a biologist to figure out what can be combined with what, you just want to consistently address these 3 or 4 key aging problems. First, you need to incorporate smart cleansing. I will definitely leave a link to all these products. I only use products with peptides. And this is all from one brand, the company Lemux. I've tried a lot of peptide-based cosmetics, but I settled on Lemux because they're like the Rolls-Royce of peptide production. They're truly top-notch. They're biologists and chemists who specialize in this field. And for a long time, this skincare was sold only to doctors and cosmetologists and wasn't available to regular consumers. That alone already says a lot. This isn't a mass-market product built solely on marketing. They're genuinely outstanding. And so the first product you need to have in every skincare routine is a cleanser. This is very important because now you know about this barrier. I'll make a separate video about it because it's super important. Women don't understand how to get that kind of face like some celebrities on Instagram when she's without makeup. You look at her and you can't tell, are those hardware procedures? Why does her face look so even? At the same time, the woman might smoke. She might even drink. It's all about working with the skin barrier. Because just using the wrong cleanser can destroy your... So even if you have a nice, firm face, you'll still look tired and older with fine lines and uneven skin, and you can't go outside without foundation if there are any issues with your skin barrier. So here's this product. It's a peptide-based cleanser. It washes everything off. It cleanses very well, and you can do double cleansing, that is, you remove your makeup and sunscreen and then wash your face again to get rid of the dead skin layer, but it doesn't damage the barrier. Plus, it already prepares your skin so that the main peptide serum can penetrate as deeply as possible. The second step is the core of your routine, the foundation. This is the IGF DNA serum. IGF is a signal to divide and build new cells, speed up the renewal cycle. In other words, this is the key factor that affects aging. The DNA complex is like an editor. It supports correct copying, resulting in fewer errors. Spots and roughness? Let me explain again. Look, in the deepest layer of your skin, there are algorithms that determine how your skin is built. When you're 25, your algorithms work perfectly. And when the first pigment spots appear, for example, that's a breakdown in the algorithm. You can remove this spot from the upper layers of the skin with a laser, but it will most likely reappear in 6 months. And it tends to show up again in about 6 months simply because it's programmed in there. And the DNA complex is an editor that ensures the correct copying of these cells, so they don't replicate with existing spots, breakouts, creases, or wrinkles. Because you see, that's how a wrinkle works. It wasn't there, and then at some point it starts to appear. And then the next layer comes out with it, and then the next, and it goes even deeper, you see? So, the DNA complex is an amazing editor that restructures your skin at a deep level and corrects the technical flaws you see on your face, the ones you don't like. And third, what I highly recommend is to reinforce the framework. And this isn't just a day or night cream, it's simply a universal cream. It's for both day and night. But this cream, I'm showing it here, Biocell is on the screen now. It's not just something that maintains hydration. These are peptides plus moisturizers. And it's a mesh mattress, water retention and elasticity. And most importantly, this framework complements the work with the skin matrix in all three functions at once. That's why using this cream to finish off your routine, just this minimal set will already give you amazing results. If you're tired of multi-step routines, if you're tired of switching between summer and winter care or worrying about what you can and can't use in the sun, just subscribe to my channel, keep watching these videos and choose peptide-based skincare that will address most of your concerns. You'll literally have just 3 to 4 jars that you'll use day and night all year round. And at the same time, your face will truly look younger. It will also be cheaper, more economical, and more effective. And most importantly, you'll get the results you're doing all this for. Please give this video a like if you found it helpful, subscribe to my channel, and recommend me to your friends and girlfriends. I would be very grateful to you. And please write in the comments what types of problems you have on your face, what you want to solve, how they manifest, and how you think they can be fixed, so that in my next videos I can give you scientific explanations about what is most likely happening to you, which specific skin function is disrupted, and what is the most effective way we can restore it. All right? Bye-bye.